Hi, I'm Alan Arkish, and about 100 years ago, I was at the opening night of the Fillmore East. Albert King, Tim Buckley, Big Brother, and the holding company. And many of you were there, and I wish I could spend this anniversary hanging out with all of you. But we can share a bunch of memories. I started out as a customer and then became an usher in the late summer of 1968. Downstairs, I had on the left as you came in, I had the top of the aisle. But we'd rotate, and luckily for me, I got to be right in the front row for the opening tour of Led Zeppelin for the Saturday Night Late Show. Dazed and confused indeed. I then was graduated to the stage crew. Here's a picture of me. I catered and did the food. Here I am having some food from the Cauldron, that macrobiotic restaurant across the street. I can't explain the socks. Okay, then I joined the light show the next year, and another Amelie Rothschild photo of me in Joe's Lights. That was a great experience. But the whole time I was there was fantastic. There is a documentary about the Fillmore called Welcome to Fillmore East that was on PBS. This is a bootleg of it, but I think it's on YouTube, and it's worth getting because you see show being set up, you see the theater, and you get to see the Byrds and Van Morrison, and that's one of the great things. And I wanted to talk about this today. We can all have our memories triggered because we can all buy live CDs. This is the first time the Airplane played there. They played there 7 times. This is a show I went to, which later was incorporated into their live album. This has got Fillmore East, Fillmore West. They're still getting stuff out of the vaults. That's another concert from theirs. How about Taj Mahal? You can get this. This is their live performance with all the tubas. And if you really want to rock out, this is a band that rocked it many, 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 many times. As it says right here, rockin' the Fillmore, Humble Pie. Very short, loud English band from the second balcony, about that tall. Oh, what band had a singer from the Metropolitan Opera sing Louie Louie with them? She was a soprano. Is that a hint? Well, the Mothers. It's not on this record. This is more of a comedy record. Flo and Eddie, the Turtles, that is, and it's all about groupies. It was a great show. Mud Shark is on here. Do You Like My New Car? And of course, Happy Together. Now, one of the craziest weekends we had was the responsibility of this crazy group. Joe Cocker, Mad Dogs and Englishmen. This is a fantastic live recording. Leon Russell's on it. 15-piece choir. They all brought their children and their dogs. There was a film crew there as well. There it is. Saturday Night Late Show. Chaos on the stage as the light show screen came down, almost decapitated people. Not really. One of the problems we had, and Michael Hearn, our stage manager, had to pass a rule that no dogs on the stage, as well as nobody drops their baby. That was a bit of a problem. A lot of alcohol, a lot of baby dropping. Another great band, live artist. Eric Clapton was there many times. Here he is. Some of that band from Mad Dogs and Englishmen here. This is truly a great concert. Now, Clapton started out with John Mayall. So here he is. He's not on this. This was more of an acoustic jazzy group that Mayall had. Love this record. Now, the exact opposite. Someone who played loud, loud, loud. In fact, my hearing has been damaged. And on this concert, this was probably New Year's Eve, 1971, Mountain, MississippiQueen. Best use of cowbell in any live song. Vote on that. Who was the greatest guitar player ever in rock and roll? Any show of hands? Because we can argue about it, but you'll lose. Unless you say Jimi Hendrix. There he was. This is from New Year's Eve, 1970, 69, 70. I saw him there with opening act was Sly and the Family Stone. That was the first time I saw him in May of 68. Can you beat that double bill? Now, speaking of double bills and triple bills, there was a great one. This may be one of the best triple bills for quality we ever had. And it was the headliner was none other than Neil Young, who is much better on his own than he is with those other two yabos, Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Can anyone remember who opened the show for Neil Young and Crazy Horse? Anybody? Come on. Miles Davis. That's right. And Neil Young apologized to Miles Davis for every night for having him open the show. Now, you can get Miles Davis's music from the Fillmore East. These are really excellent. This is the Bitches Brew Band with Herbie Hancock, Wayne Shorter, Tony Williams. Fantastic band. Now, the band that was maybe one of our all-time favorites didn't start out that way. In fact, they were 3 hours late for their sound check, and we had not heard their music, and all we knew about them was that their road manager the night before had murdered the manager of a club who hadn't paid them, and he was in jail for manslaughter, which is one of the reasons they were late. But there was a picture of them in the lobby. No music, just a picture. So us sophisticates, that is, us film students and theater students, were a little worried about these guys. And they showed up, and they looked kind of like this. Beat up equipment, taped up guitar cases. Out came two late 50s Les Paul Gibsons. And as soon as they kicked into Statesboro's Blues, love at first sight. Great bunch of guys. I got them New York City Jewish Deli the first night. They'd actually never had pastrami and a case of beer. But every night after that, Dwayne said, "We love the pastrami. Could you get us a jug of wine?" Now, the stage crew loved these guys, so we sent around a little petition, and 6 weeks later, they were booked back into the Fillmore. Now, a year later, they came back for this fantastic recording, and there's so many different versions of it. And on this Saturday night, as I came into the theater to do the light show, this guy, Red Dog, who is the roadie, said, "Dwayne has left a little gift for you guys in the dressing room." And there, in the dressing room, was 3 jugs of wine, which was very sweet, with a note that said, "Tonight's the night. We're gonna have a great show, Dwayne." So I opened up the envelope, and inside is tabs of orange something. Well, this is the end result. This is every note they played at the Fillmore East that weekend. Greatest live album of all time? You tell me. So, what band says more about the Fillmore East than any other? And what band is the least likely to have succeeded and become emblematic of everything of that era and forged a way for themselves that they not only thrive, they became the most successful touring band of all time. They left an incredible mark on our culture. I don't think anybody would have guessed that it was these guys, right? They played there a lot. Just to give you an idea of how they did things their way, this is live from 1971, and this is the last time they played the Fillmore East. The record company loved it, thought it was a really good record, and asked them what they were going to call it. And they said, Skullfuck. That's not a real commercial name, but that's the Grateful Dead for you. It ended up just being called the Grateful Dead, but if you want more Skullfuck, this is every night that they played there that week. And then this is the year before, a night that Garcia played 6 sets. 2 acoustic, 2 new riders, and 2 electric. Fantastic. But if you were going to ask me, what was the greatest Grateful Dead show of the Fillmore? And many people, well, not too many people, have asked me that question. It's got to be President's Day weekend, 1970, because it was not only the Dead. Remember I told you about the 6 weeks later? The Allmans, Arthur Lee and Love, but the Late Show Saturday night. And I can't be objective about this. This is Dick's Picks 4. I think that this was the best Grateful Dead set. Now, the reason I can't be objective is part of my job on the stage crew was to warn people to not leave soda cans or beer cans around, especially when Osley was the sound man for the Grateful Dead. He was improving their sound because you never knew what would end up in it. And that night, I went and emptied the water cooler and brought back the bottle. And Osley and Ramrod and Red Dog were hovering around there, kind of with a smile on their face, put the water back on, and an hour later, there seemed to be a change in altitude. And it was a great show. The Saturday Night Late Show went on till dawn. There's a 30-minute dark star, and as the show ended and the sun came up and the doors to the theater opened, there was sunlight pouring in, and he walked out on 6th Street, and it had been snowing. We had been in the theater so long, we hadn't noticed that it had snowed. And it was like it happens in New York, there was no footsteps. It was just the flakes. And as the crowd went out and filtered across the street, you could see the footsteps form. And as the Dead and the Allmans walked out of the theater, at the back door, Dwayne stopped. And I always remember he's kind of backlit. And he turned to Bill Graham and he said, "Bill, it's like leaving church." So to be there and witness that kind of stuff, and the last weekend, the Late Show, Saturday night, the Albert King, the great Jay Giles Band, and the Allman Brothers was emblematic of everything that we tried to achieve there. I mean, there was such a press of people to come in and see it, and the office handled it beautifully. The lighting, the light show, the sound, best sound system in rock and roll ever, all kind of showed itself off on that show, because at around 3:30 in the morning, as the Allman Brothers were switching to from Whipping Post into Mountain Jam, we're on the headphones, and all of us communicated during the show, and the decision was made. As they made that transition, we turned off every light in the theater. It was pitch black, and then 2 spotlights hit the mirrored ball, and thousands of dots of light, beams of light, went all over the theater, and up the center of the light show screen from Tom Shoesmith was this white bird that flew all around the screen, flopping around, and the audience just shrieked. It just lifted the whole thing, and we played on till dawn, and it's one of my favorite moments at the Fillmore. So if you remember all those good times, it was great sharing them with you and letting me tell those stories again.